So, good afternoon. Thanks for your time. Thanks for being here with us and spending some valuable part of your agenda with us. I'll be your host and conversation facilitator today. Nice place to be, changing gears from what I normally do, and happy to experiment that. So I want to first thank you, Global LegalTech Hub, for lending us this virtual space, and of course to Legálitas for organizing the session, and their continued effort to really create community and share knowledge in the legal industry. My name is Ángel Sáenz de Cenzano. I'm the country manager for LinkedIn in Spain and Portugal. Again, will be your host here. I've been developing that role for the last 2 years with a previous background in a long tenure in Microsoft for 16 years. And really happy to be here and to experience a little bit of industry flavor in such vibrant industry as the legal one and the legal tech. What will be covered today? So obviously we want to share and understand how the world and our, let's say, closer worlds and ecosystems have changed, how our way of working, our company's way of working, priorities, strategies, our network. So I think that these sharing sessions normally bring value, and especially if we have such relevant panelists. We will cover that, and as well, which are the real needs that the citizens have in terms of services subscriptions, quick and efficient legal processes, registrations, provisioning, services delivery. So all that the legal tech industry is trying to provide to make our lives easier, so to say. So we will also probably understand why and how multi-channel is already mainstream and is the way that we will connect solution providers with citizens and with clients. Of course, not forgetting security, cybersecurity, and trust as a key element of all this reality. And probably finally the role of the public sector and the just administration of justice in providing and enabling that connection between justice and citizen, and in general for all the processes that we need to do. So that's the context, and for that purpose we have three very relevant. Well, actually we have only two. Hopefully Juanjo is going to join over time. We have three very relevant and brilliant speakers with us. I will make the introduction so they don't need to get red faces themselves and do it themselves. And very quickly we will go into the fireside chat or the questions and answers that will hopefully lead us to a better understanding of the current status quo of all of this. So first we have Juan Pardo. Juan Pardo is the corporate general manager in Legálitas, including its insurance business. Juan holds a bachelor in business administration and MBA, already a relevant tenure, more than 9 years in the executive committee of Legálitas, where he has designed and developed enterprise growth and sales strategies. He was also instrumental and a sponsor of the Legálitas Lab effort. Let's beachhead, or let's call it the first relevant effort from Legálitas side to really foster innovation and find innovation means in the market and in the industry. Effort that began, I think, that before 2014 or something like that, 2014, 2015. Thanks for being here, Juan. Then we have Agustín Tourón, bachelor in physics and long-time entrepreneur, co-founder of Councilbox, which is a supplier of communication systems that allow remote meetings with electronic voting and legal validity of the same through all the process. And hopefully, sooner or later.
I'm here.
You are here, Juanjo.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the most deserved one today. So we just on time. We have here Juanjo Traver, economist, MBA, and serial entrepreneur. Currently co-founder, chief financial officer, and chief revenue officer of Declarando, fintech that offers quality and automated advisory for the self-employed segment, with the vision of making them a little bit more free. Probably he will explain it better than me. Ultimately, making them more autonomous, which feels like very good with our Spanish translation of that terminology. Okay, So these are our three panelists. Again, thanks for being here. Of course, thanks for the more than 30 participants that are joining us today. And with this first introduction from all the panelists, let's go to open fire with a little bit of first round with the three of them, in which the question is pretty simple. I mean, if you want to add something about you or your businesses and your companies, putting that together on how you personally and as a business went through the pandemic and what have you experienced, how do you feel that the customer behavior has changed over time after the pandemic? Bearing in mind this behavior, how would you think that the needs of the legal sector customers will develop in the future? So that very broad and open question goes for the three of you, so we can begin setting some context, and then we will go to more specific questions. Juan, do you want to start over?
That'd be great. Thank you very much. Do you listen? Do you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, thanks very much for the introduction. Thank you very much for the Global LegalTech Hub. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's an honor to share this panel with all of you. Well, it is indeed a very broad question. I would say, first of all, in sake of explaining what Legálitas does, what we do, we sell subscriptions to a service of legal assistance, a preventive legal assistance. So it's a subscription, which is something that for the families, at least in Spain and where we've searched around the world, it was not very common. That was something that we tried to bring to society. It's a subscription to legal assistance and preventive. What we would like is everyone, before signing any contract, before arguing with anyone, with any neighbor, to call their lawyer and to be better assessed. Okay. And going to your question, what has the pandemic changed? Well, first, we had some previous experience with remote working as a conciliation measure, but obviously when the confinement began on March 20th, we had to send everyone home, and that was quite challenging because, as I said, we were ready, but we were not ready. So the first stress that we felt was we had to move everyone home. I mean, in a literal sense, we had people with laptop computers, but we had people with tower computers that had to take them home with them. But the final result of that movement is that in 4 days, we were able to move 600 people home, 250 lawyers inside those 600 people, and they started to answer the inquiries from our customers very soon. And we experienced two very strange effects. The first is that the productivity of the lawyers increased immensely. I mean, amazingly. We have never seen until that day the rates of productivity as high as those ones. And I think that was because of two reasons. One might be the sense of duty, but the other one was obviously that they couldn't get out of home and they had nothing else to do but staying at home. So they worked more hours. And the second effect was the satisfaction of the clients. I think it was because of the clients didn't really expect the phone to be answered. The Legálitas answering in those days their inquiries. And those were moments where people were really, really stressed. They started to not to be able to move around the country to see their families. They're starting to, their companies starting to temporarily stop the labor relations with them. So that the thing that we could move everyone to their homes and keep on answering the phone, I think was pretty interesting, and the result was the satisfaction of the clients, of the customers, that went up. So I think that'll be a very short explanation how we went through the pandemic.
Thanks, Juan. Super nice to hear different testimonies. I think that there's a very specific and individual story behind any company or corporation, how they adjust. It's also good to listen how something so unprecedented and so unexpected and so harmful in certain ways really created the space for us as organizations to evolve and to grow. and to find new levels of productivity and hopefully of well-being and happiness. Fantastic, Juan. So so let's go to Juanjo. Juanjo, what about you, your experience, your company, what these last 2 years have brought to you in terms of opportunities, challenges, and how you overcome those?
Yeah, for us, it was a bit different because before COVID, we were a remote work company, so we were used to work at home. We started Declarando working at home like 2 or 3 days per week. So for us, this part of the change was not very relevant, but some other changes were like crazy. For example, our clients are freelancers, so they start asking a lot of things around what happened with their situation. So our legal department was like overwhelmed about all the inquiries we were receiving the first weeks with changes, legal changes every week. If you remember, like BOE changing every week, and for us, the main change that was a little bit behavioral was that before COVID, a lot of people, when they thought about tax advisory, that is our main core business, they were thinking about this kind of bookkeepers that we have a lot in Spain, more than 70,000, and they were used to face-to-face relationships, and we were more focused on this kind of freelancers that were more used to digital relationships, like freelancers like used to work with a computer, developers, marketers, and so on. And COVID changed this perception because when traditional bookkeepers cannot interact with their customers because they cannot go to their offices, they cannot get the phone when the clients were calling them, was like, yeah, maybe this kind of relationship is not the only one. So maybe digital solutions like Declarando, it's a good thing to explore. So a lot of people start thinking about digital advisory like a good solution, because maybe in the future we will have another lockdown, and companies like us are better for managing this kind of situations. That was the main change in our company, in our sector, and in our clients.
May I interrupt the flow of the conversation for a moment?
Go ahead, please.
Juanjo, what type of clients do you have? Do you have clients, small SMEs from any particular sector that they're more willing of working with their tax advisors digitally, or do you have every sector has their special?
We before COVID, we were focused on freelancers and freelancers that used to work with a computer. But even in this kind of computer workers, like a lawyer used to work with a computer, but a lawyer maybe is not like this kind of freelancer that is more used to work with a digital advisor. So that was before COVID, and nowadays we were like working with a lot of kind of freelancers that before COVID they were not used to work with a digital advisory like us. So today maybe we are a broad spectrum of freelancers, more focused on digital freelancers still, but more broad than before COVID.
Thank you, and sorry, Agustin.
Thank you, Juan and Juanjo. And last but not least, of course, Agustin, can you lend us your thoughts about around how you went through the pandemic, how your customers did when went through the pandemic? You're on mute, Agus.
Thank you so much for inviting me here and answer with these great people. And thank you so much to Legal Hub to introduce our company here. We are one of the foundation of the hub, and it's a very honor to us stay today here and participate in this board. About your question and the conversation, imagine for us a company ready to do meetings online. It was our first idea. It was concept was born with the idea to do legal remote connections, and our clients, all of our clients ever use this kind of technology. But suddenly we receive a lot of companies calling to us to with the need to do all the meetings remotely. Okay, it was a accelerating process of adaptation of the people with the new technology. People have become accustomed to the use of video conferencing systems. Our company it was prepared because all of our team use remotely work, telework, and it was easy. But our clients, all of our clients were crazy. It was a very crazy time with everybody need to do meetings, everybody in home. I remember that we reached the first shareholder meetings 100% remotely. Never do before. Okay, and it was a very interesting time for us, and now it's a very new time to consolidate this technology, this kind of meetings continuing in the space. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Agustin, and yeah, it's very interesting to see how many of our services, and I include myself.
Only one thing more. I think that the more important was how the regulations were adapted to the use of conferencing systems and the new technologies. In short, it was a catalyst for the use of digital recursos. Okay, for example, in our case, the Spanish Ministry of Justice launched a new way to communicate with the citizens. Okay, because when official need to do a meeting with our citizens in person, in the pandemic time now, it's necessary to do remotely.
Obvious that technology can help us overcoming challenges as the ones that we face with the pandemic. So thanks, the three of you, for this context setting, and that explains as well a little bit better how your business works and how your customers get benefits from your services. So going a little bit more to specific topics, I'm going to shoot with some questions. I ask you to answer like in, let's say, 1 minute, like short answers, so we can cover all the topics that we want to cover today. So following the same order, this one goes to you, Juan. And if anyone else wants to complement the answer, please feel free. Juan, for the ones that we are not legal professionals here, how that multi-channel or omni-channel concept is working in the legal space, and how that can benefit us? Where are we there? We get this mainstream, but what can that provide as a benefit to citizens and to customers?
Okay, I'll try to do it in 1 minute. First, when Legálitas was invented, when we started our operations, we implemented the phone as a way to communicate between lawyer and customer. That was very new by then, and we didn't have lawyers on the phone, and that helped to overcome to break some walls that they were separating lawyers and customers. If you were a customer, you had to choose, and you convince yourself you had to go to a lawyer. You had to find one lawyer, then you had to ask for a meeting, then you had to go to their office. You didn't know if that lawyer was the correct lawyer for your problem, and then you didn't know how much you had to pay. So our philosophy was to make closed products with a fixed price, and that you could call the lawyer anytime, anywhere, and without waiting for anything. So we used to work 24 hours a day. What we have experienced during the pandemic, and I think the pandemic has been a catalyzer, if you can say that in English, an accelerator of this project, of this process, is that our customers, they don't want us to send the contracts that we write by post. They don't even want them by email. What they want them is we upload them in their private, the private
space,
the repository or whatever. And they also they asked us that they wanted to see the face of our lawyers. They wanted to have video calls. So that's something we have developed for the past 2 years. And I think it's the future. It's not only in legal sector, but also in the medical sector, in the health sector. The more you see the person that is advising you or is assessing you, the more confidence you will get. So it is the omni-channel. It's a real thing. It's happening, and the customers are pushing us to develop new ways of talking to them from the lawyers.
Juan, let me make another question around that. So I've been hearing lately, the last days actually, in the radio programs that there's certain controversy around the banks closing their offices, and what that can be a good or a bad news for certain segments, especially the elderly people that are not used to work with digital assets and digital means. So how do you experience that from your perspective as legal lawyer advisory? Is there a difference? And of course, it's obvious that there's different adoptions between different generations.
Yeah.
But is that a stopper or a barrier for you to access segments that are not that digital or not that multi-channel?
I would say that it's instead of is making the market smaller, I think it's making the market bigger. Our kind of customer is getting younger and younger and younger the more we develop this omni-channel. And I think the knowledge of your rights and the way you know your rights and you execute them, that's a sign of maturity in the society. So the more mature we get, the more we know our rights, and we want to execute them. And so what is happening is that our market was middle-aged, a little bit older, and now we're experiencing an opening market underneath that with younger customers that with this omni-channel are feeling that Legálitas or the lawyers are a little bit closer to them.
Interesting, very interesting. Thank you, Juan.
I would like to add
please.
that I think that I agree with with Juan, and I think that the one of the more important things in this case are to do workflows. The workflows are the more important in our case to do. I think that it's the same in the Legálitas processes. I know that it is.
Of course. So so let's move and change topic, and now going to Juanjo. So Juanjo, how are the specifics of your clients' sweet spot? Those freelancers or self-employed, autonomous. So how their needs have evolved through this couple of years? How that flexible work concept and philosophy is spreading around, not only for freelancers that probably had in their ADN that. So I guess that it has been a kind of even new discovery on options, challenges, opportunities as well. There's a clear trend on different flexible flavors of work in the future. Obviously, regulation is there to normalize that and to allow or not allow that. How have you gone through this? I understand that there's a real changing world now, the ones that you have with the freelancers, how they are experiencing that.
That's a very, very good question, because like you said, last year it has been changing a lot around how people are working around the world. So freelancers every year are more global, and in our target, we are experimenting this very frequently. For example, like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, when we started in 2017. At the beginning, maybe we had a developer working for a American company and something like that, but that was like one every 10. But nowadays, it's like we have a very huge group of people working for companies around the globe, and we have a lot of people working, traveling around the world. So we have this kind of people that they don't know where they have to pay taxes, because if you,
nomads, right? Are they called
nomads?
Nomads?
Digital nomads. That's the word.
Exactly.
Yeah. We have been doing webinars around this, because we have a lot of experience in taxes around this kind of situation. We have been evolving a lot around all this crazy world about crypto and so on. So the last 2 years have been amazing. We have learned a lot. Our tax lawyers have learned a lot, and yeah, the world is totally crazy, and that's good for us, because we are very specialized on this kind of freelancers, and we can provide a very high quality service for them.
Yeah, very comprehensive. I can't, and I think it fits now. I can't go out of this call without asking you about the riders and how the riders
Yeah.
world is going to handle this situation. I mean, is it fair? Is it not fair? It should be regulated. Should not? Do they have their rights? But should regulation go over those rights to work as they want, or as they want to work? What's your view there?
My personal view, obviously, is that we need a different kind of regulation for them. We cannot use the same regulation for a rider than for a temporary employee. It's like people is changing, so we have to evolve with it. So riders is a very good example that the regulator have to evolve, and they have to adapt, because the economy is not the same like 10 years ago, and these kind of companies like riders companies are going to move the tree, and if not these companies are doing this, new companies will do. So the regulator have to adapt.
Fantastic. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. I think that it's like trying to put
Juanjo,
a wall to a. Yeah, go ahead.
Have you ever imagined that before?
What happened with the riders, you mean, Agustin?
The pandemic situation. Have you ever imagined that everybody working around the world, working in their houses,
Well,
etcétera?
a little bit, yeah, because when we started Declarando, one of our co-founders, Vicente, he was a huge fan of companies in US that used to work at home. So these companies were like 5 years ago remote first companies. So we embrace this kind of philosophy of working wherever you want. And one of our co-founders have been traveling around the world the last 5 years. So we were like a bit used to this kind of people working around the world. But nowadays it's like a lot.
No, it went mainstream. I actually remember myself telling that all the time. Like, this is not a new thing. This is something that especially the startup ecosystem have been doing for a while, like being absolutely remote and also leveraging and taking advantage of that global reach, of the reach of global talent, global investors, global customers, etc., etc. So I think that everybody else in any industry with any specificity is looking at it more naturally now, and it's one of the good things that this strange situation has brought.
It also brings the necessity for big organizations to find different ways of communicate with employees, for the employees to feel the values of the company, because if you don't see each other and if you don't have physical contact, it's easy to get lost or to walk paths that are different from each other. So I think it's an opportunity also for the HR big organizations to create new liaisons between the employees.
That's a fact that could open a different, very different and lengthy conversation that I'm happy to facilitate as well, because it's very much on my field of domain of my daily conversations. But yeah, absolutely right, absolutely right. So Agustin, a question that is obvious also for you and for your business: security, cybersecurity, trust, key element here. Security and communications, in how data is managed, etc. So tell the audience, tell the 30 people that we hear. I mean, why should we be confident in that this is something that is not less secure but more secure, and what are the main headlines of what are the things that are being done in that end?
I think so that the challenge in this moment is the authentication. The remote authentication is the really challenge for everybody. In Spain, we have regulators working hard in this case, but in all the world, the challenge is that in our case, we have a lot of citizen services solutions companies, like notifications to the citizens. We have we use electronic notifications, but I think that the challenge is that the identifications, the qualified security, possibility of attendance and participation through certificate ways. I think that the signature is a new challenge too, and it was a very interesting for the regulations in Europe and in America and over the world.
Yeah, I think that we all feel safer in general on how digital interconnections are working and will work, and I think that the response of the technology in general was good. Probably this last mile of trust, when we talk about legal things and very specific, is the one that that concerns us the most. I mean, I'm a absolutely firm believer that this is already a reality, and we should trust that. But I think that probably would be fair to say that we all need to do an extra effort to really make people comfortable with all these options. So let's go for our last round of topics and questions to each of you, and with that we will try to save some time for questions of the audience if we have any. So so Juan, what is the role of the justice administration in all this setup? What are the main challenges that they are facing? Probably you're familiar with that, and also how do you see them being active and being an actor and hopefully an accelerator also of all this innovation?
Sorry, I think they have a big role. From their point of view, they can do things internally and externally. Internally, they need to, and they are doing it, and they are using the next generation funds from Europe to reorganize the way you go to court to make a declaration. And they are starting to use telematic solutions that are more helpful. Once again, the authentication of the person is one of the, I think, is one of the key things they have to achieve. Externally, for me, it's much more difficult. It's the way that we, the citizens, how we feel the closeness or the contrary with the administration, the justice administration. It's still all the process of communicating, receiving communications. It's still so it's very old. But the big problem for the justice administration is how the courts are full of things that are of problems from citizens that are not important, and they cannot divide the important ones and the non-important. So what is happening is that they're having delays, huge delays in attending all the matters. The legislative progress, I would say, is that they're trying to how do you say, they're trying to make the consuming problems, they have to make arbitration. They want to solve the problems before going to court. Well, that is something that in which we help. We at the end of the day, we receive 1 million inquiries or 1 million consultations per year. From that 1 million, we only send to court 5%. That means that 95% of the inquiries that we received are solved without going to court. And I think this is something that we can do to help the justice administration. And we've been talking with the Ministry of Justice for the past months in order to put this capacity, to offer them this capacity to help, because the big problem of the Spanish administration, justice administration, is that they delay in small things and what's worse in big things, in big problems, a lot of months, even years. So I think for adding up, I think they have a big role to play, and they have to organize themselves internally and externally, and they have to try to get less people to get to court so they can focus on the important things.
No, interesting, and to the other two panelists as well. So understanding that is the main bottleneck. I mean, the let's say what we call in other industries the time to market. But what else? I mean, what else the citizen could expect going forward in the future terms of the administration of justice, in terms of easiness of connecting that way? What do you feel? Let's try to be a little bit visionaries. With the risk that implies of what can we expect as pure citizens. Juanjo, what's your view there?
I don't have a lot of experience in this, because in the Declarando we don't used to file whatever in a court or so. Mm-hmm. But in my personal experience, my mother, for example, these days has to be a witnesses of a situation between married, and she's old, and she's like, I don't want to go to the court because it's COVID, it's plenty of COVID. So for me, it's like crazy that an old woman has to go to the court in order to be witnesses of something. You cannot do that with a video call or whatever. For me, in the future, you have to put tools or whatever to the citizens in order to avoid a lot of things that
exactly.
maybe
and that is the point. That is the point. How we should evolve to go run away old mechanisms of filing a demand and waiting for months, and then being asked to go to declare and then wait for more months, etc. So I mean, it's obviously not very modern, so to say.
You have to put tools in order to avoid the physical presence for everything. So we have a lot of technology in order to avoid that. So we need to use the technology we already have to avoid to go to a court being present there. So only with this, maybe we can remove a lot of bottlenecks.
Agustin, on your side, you have the technology to provide that kind of connection.
Yes, I think that.
So why haven't you sold that to the ministry yet?
Yes, but I think that one of the things that the common error when the administration, the public administration, try to implant a digital processes or a digital transformation for new channels is thinking like transform the same way the same the physic workflows to the digital process, and the digital process are new. It's different. Are different. Sorry, but we have a lot of technologies to do better relationships with the citizens, and this is the key. You can accept it of jobs, appointments. There are a lot of things that doesn't exist in the physical workflows, and everybody needs to solve the technologies, the new technologies to do better things and better transformations. And I think so. The citizens need new ways to stay close to the public administration. You know.
Absolutely, and I think that we can do the final round of remarks based on that. So again, first of all, thanks the three of you for sharing your knowledge and your experience here. Thanks, of course, the more than 30 people that attended, and spending time 6 p.m. here in Spain. I know that some people connected from other countries and eventually time zones. But yeah, final remarks, and let's follow the same order, beginning with Juan. Final remarks on what's next, how your company is looking at the future terms, like future months, quarters, or years in terms of innovation, and how this can, I mean, how innovation and technology can really be mainstream also in legal tech, and where the legal tech is moving on. Final remarks on that, Juan, please.
Okay, I think we have the legal tech concept in our DNA. We invest 8% of our incomes every year in innovation, and I think we have to keep on innovating in two areas. One is how the customers arrive in the marketing area, and then how we give service to them. And we have to provide them with much more easy and efficient processes. Plus, the second thing is we have been focusing on families for the past 20 years. I think now is the time to get a move on SMEs, and I think that we have a bright future in that segment.
Absolutely, and you don't say it, but I can do freely. Legálitas itself is an innovation. I mean, the business model was innovation already certain years ago, so it's obvious that you have that in your DNA, and you probably will continue doing. Thanks for being here, Juan.
Thank you.
Juanjo, on your side, what's your top of mind regarding all this, and how you're going to move on in the future periods?
Yeah, I would say that for us it's very important to to remove all the complexity that a freelancer have to face when he is dealing with a lot of things, and we have to remove all the processes that doesn't add value for them. So we are in the world, we are in Spain particularly, trying to make free a freelancer, and we will have to do it using technology, because only with technology a freelancer that wants to work traveling around the world, like we have mentioned before, or experimenting with new weird things like crypto or whatever, will be feeling with peace of mind, because sometimes this kind of new professions or whatever are very conflictive, or are very trouble when they try to figure out if they are doing something wrong. So using technology, we will try to make free freelancers and let them enjoy the travel, doing what they want to do.
I think it's important for all of us to try to enjoy that, right? And last, Agustin, communications, digital communications. We are all listening about the future, what the future is going to come. I don't want to call out the hype on the metaverse, but why not having you here? What are you expecting there? Are you already working on avatars, 3D, mixed reality, on how we're going to connect?
I don't know, but I think that we are open to the new technologies. Our mind always open, and I don't know what is the future. The future is changing, but I think that in our case, we have the focus in the expansion and to know new technologies like NFTs and more about blockchain. I think that all is to do.
So we all hope that not only for these purposes, that the evolution of how we connect and how those connections can help us overcome situations as we had, or simply progress and save more time for ourselves or whatever are going to progress. So we're about time. We're giving back 5 minutes actually. I think that we had 1 hour reserved, but I think we're done. Again, thanks a lot to the 3 participants. I think it's been very insightful, very different profiles, very different businesses, but very fine and genuine and good views of the business. Of course, I want to thank again Global LegalTech Hub for organizing and lending this space and actively inviting the members, and finally all the attendees that have been here and listening to us today. And well, hope it's not the end of the road, and we can connect in the future for different purposes, different topics, and have a fantastic evening and a very good start of the year and remainder of 2022. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.